Welcome back to the Movie Pit, fuckers! Dr. Ghoulula here, with another hot take on Hollywood's latest claustrophobic thriller, Locked, starring Bill Skarsgård and Anthony Hopkins. This car-based psychological torture fest promises a wild ride, but does it deliver or just stall out? What we've got here is basically Saw meets OnStar. A fucking ridiculous premise that somehow managed to get not one but two A-list actors to commit to this automotive horror show. Honestly, I didn't know whether to laugh or cringe through most of this shit, but that's exactly what makes this movie such a fascinating fucking train wreck to dissect. Holy fucking shit, where do I even begin with this batshit crazy plot? So Eddie, played by Bill Skarsgård, is a small-time thief who's just trying to steal some shit to help pay for his kids' whatever. Guy spots what looks like an easy mark, a luxury SUV sitting there with its doors unlocked, and decides to break in and grab whatever valuables he can find. Bad fucking move. This isn't just any car. It's the world's most technologically advanced death trap on wheels, custom built by Anthony Hopkins' character William, a wealthy doctor with more money than sanity and a hard-on for vigilante justice. The moment Eddie's inside, the doors lock, the windows seal, and this poor motherfucker realizes he's completely trapped in automotive hell. What follows is the most fucked up car ride ever, where Eddie never actually goes anywhere. Hopkins tortures this dude remotely like he's playing a goddamn video game. Electric shocks every time he curses, freezing temperatures followed by sweltering heat. And the fucking coup de grace, blasting mind-numbing polka music that would make anyone consider gnawing their own ears off. The sick bastard watches it all through hidden cameras, taunting Eddie with his silky British voice, while this sweaty, desperate thief slowly realizes he's at the mercy of a psychopath who's turned his luxury vehicle into a rolling torture chamber. It's an utterly insane game of psychological warfare, where one guy's trapped in a car and the other's trapped in his own twisted need for revenge. Holy shit, you want acting performances? Let me tell you about the fucking masterclass Bill Skarsgård puts on in this claustrophobic nightmare. This motherfucker sweats, bleeds, and pisses his way through the entire film with the desperate intensity of someone who's being tortured for real. There's a raw, manic energy to his performance that makes you believe this poor bastard is actually trapped in automotive hell. Skarsgård commits so completely to the physical and emotional breakdown that you can practically smell his desperation through the screen. When he's forced to drink his own piss to survive, he doesn't just act disgusted, he makes you taste that warm, acrid liquid yourself. The way he cycles through rage, terror, bargaining, and resignation feels fucking authentic. The scene where he's frantically clawing at the dashboard, screaming until his voice gives out, that shit will haunt you. Meanwhile, Anthony Hopkins phones it in, literally, and still manages to be terrifying as fuck. This legendary bastard doesn't even need to show his face to dominate every scene. His disembodied voice drips with that signature silky menace that's simultaneously sophisticated and sadistic. Hopkins delivers each line with the casual cruelty of a man who's enjoying every second of another person's suffering, reminding you exactly why this motherfucker has 2 Oscars sitting on his mantle. The verbal tennis match between these two actors forms the pulsing, twisted heart of the film. Skarsgård's raw, primal performance against Hopkins' calculated, ice-cold delivery creates a dynamic that keeps you glued to your seat even when the script starts running on fumes. When they finally share physical space in the third act, the tension is so thick you could cut it with a fucking tire iron. Hold on to your fucking seats because director David Yarovesky somehow turns a movie about a guy trapped in a goddamn car into a visual masterpiece. This claustrophobic hell ride might have a simple premise, but the execution is anything but basic. The technical wizardry behind this film is mind-blowing. Those custom-built lenses they created specifically to shoot inside that tight SUV interior give you angles and perspectives that make your stomach churn with anxiety. The way the set was designed to slide apart on rails is pure genius, allowing for those impossible-looking 360-degree shots that make you feel like you're right there with Eddie in his rolling prison. The visual language of Locked is fucking brutal yet beautiful. That early unbroken take where the camera swirls around Skarsgård as he frantically tries to escape the vehicle? Technical brilliance. You can practically feel the walls closing in as the handheld camera work gets more frenzied and desperate alongside Eddie's mental state. Yarovesky somehow finds a way to keep things visually interesting despite the severely limited setting. The lighting transforms dramatically as Eddie's ordeal stretches from day to night to day again, each phase bringing new visual textures to his nightmare. When the temperature inside the car shifts from freezing to boiling, you can practically see the goddamn air changing. For a film shot in just 19 days with budget constraints, the production value is fucking astounding. The SUV itself becomes a character, sleek and menacing, with all its hidden compartments and torture devices. Every inch of that vehicle is utilized to create maximum tension. Even when the script starts running out of gas, the visual storytelling keeps you trapped right there in that hellish car alongside our suffering protagonist. The cinematography in Locked is a fucking masterclass in making the mundane terrifying. Cinematographer Michael Delatorre brings a desaturated color palette that strips away any warmth or comfort, leaving us with a cold, clinical visual atmosphere that perfectly complements Hopkins' sociopathic doctor character. The SUV isn't just a setting, it's transformed into a character of its own, a sleek, high-tech torture chamber on wheels with every surface gleaming with menace. The lighting design deserves special praise, shifting from harsh overhead fluorescents that expose every bead of sweat on Skarsgård's face to shadowy nighttime scenes where you can barely make out his desperate expressions. Those transitions from day to night create a genuine sense of mounting dread as Eddie's situation becomes increasingly hopeless with each passing hour. Delatorre clearly had a fucking blast finding new angles in what should have been an impossibly confined space. The camera somehow discovers fresh perspectives on a guy trapped in a car seat, making each new torture sequence visually distinct from the last. There are extreme close-ups that feel almost pornographic in their intimacy with Eddie's suffering, especially those fingernail trauma shots that will make you physically recoil in your seat. The visual language evolves as Eddie deteriorates, with the framing becoming increasingly unstable and claustrophobic. By the time we reach those hallucinatory sequences where Eddie's desperate for water, the distorted visuals perfectly capture his fractured mental state. It's a testament to the cinematography that even when the script starts spinning its wheels, the visual storytelling maintains its vice-like grip on your attention. The sound design in Locked is a motherfucking roller coaster of brilliance and frustration. When it fucking hits hard. Every electric shock that courses through Eddie's body comes through with such crisp precision that you'll find your own muscles tensing. The bone-crunching impacts and those fingernail trauma moments are rendered with such excruciating audio detail that you can't help but physically recoil in your seat. There's a visceral quality to these sounds that bypasses your brain and goes straight to your nervous system. That polka music torture sequence deserves special mention. It's so absurdly stupid that it circles back around to fucking genius. The way the cheerful, bouncy accordion contrasts with Skarsgård's anguished screams creates this darkly comic dissonance that perfectly captures the film's twisted sense of humor. You'll laugh, then feel like an asshole for laughing, which is exactly what the sound designers were going for. But holy shit, the film commits some serious audio sins too. There are several crucial moments where Hopkins is delivering these deliciously sadistic monologues, and you can barely make out what the fuck he's saying because the engines growl or the car's climate system drowns him out. This is Anthony fucking Hopkins we're talking about. His voice is half the reason you cast him, and yet someone thought, let's bury it under mechanical noise. That's not just a technical oversight, it's a goddamn crime against cinema. Tim Williams' score works well enough when it needs to ratchet up the tension. The low, ominous drones effectively underscore Eddie's mounting desperation. And there are some nice percussive elements that accentuate the more action-oriented sequences. But unlike the best thriller scores that stick with you long after the credits roll, this one just does its job and clocks out. It's competent but ultimately forgettable, much like the cookie Williams rewards Eddie with in the film. For all the technical prowess and acting talent on display, this is where Locked really starts to run on fucking fumes. The first act grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go. It's a beautifully executed setup that promises an intense psychological showdown. But then the middle section drags like a motherfucker with what feels like an eternity of watching Eddie sweat, bleed, and scream at an unresponsive dashboard. You can practically feel the script struggling to fill its runtime. How many different ways can one man freak out in a car before it gets repetitive? The answer, not nearly enough for a feature film. There are stretches where absolutely nothing new happens, and the tension that was so carefully built just evaporates into tedium. It's like watching paint dry, if the paint was a sweaty Bill Skarsgård. The dialogue, which starts out sharp and engaging, devolves into pseudo-intellectual bullshit as William starts dropping Dostoevsky references and Bible verses like he's auditioning for a freshman philosophy seminar. These attempts at profundity land with all the subtlety of a fucking sledgehammer. The class warfare themes, rich doctor versus desperate thief, are hammered home so relentlessly you'll want to scream, "We fucking get it already!" When William goes on about justice and punishment, you can practically hear the screenwriter jerking off to their own perceived cleverness. It's the kind of shit that sounds deep when you're stoned at 3 a.m. but falls completely flat in the harsh light of day. By the time we reach Eddie's tearful message to his daughter, the emotional manipulation is so transparent it's almost insulting. The pacing problems become terminal when William finally decides to join Eddie inside the car. This should be the climactic confrontation we've been waiting for, but by this point, the tension has flatlined faster than Hopkins' character. Their face-to-face interaction feels anticlimactic after all the build-up, and the inevitable power shift comes too late to salvage the saggy middle section. Look, I don't know if you noticed, but Locked has a twisted sense of humor running through its veins that almost fucking saves it from itself. Every time Eddie drops an F-bomb, which is about every third word out of his mouth, he gets zapped like a lab rat. It's the most petty, passive-aggressive punishment system ever devised. And there's something darkly hilarious about watching Skarsgård jolt in his seat 50 different times before he finally learns to watch his language. The sheer absurdity of the premise deserves some recognition too. We've got a terminally ill elderly doctor who, instead of enjoying his remaining time on this earth, or I don't know, leaving a positive legacy, decides to build the world's most elaborate car alarm system that would make Jigsaw cream his pants. This motherfucker literally installed tasers in the seats and a climate control system that can either roast or freeze a man alive. That's not security, that's a fucking psychopath with too much time and money on his hands. Then there's the polka music torture. Not death metal, not screeching feedback, but goddamn accordion polka blasted at ear-splitting volume. It's so ridiculous it circles back around to brilliant. The film gives us these moments of pitch-black comedy that cut through the tension like a knife, reminding us not to take any of this bullshit too seriously. The way William rewards Eddie with a cookie for good behavior, like he's house-training a puppy instead of torturing a grown man, is the kind of detail that shows the filmmakers knew exactly what kind of deranged story they were telling. Locked understands it's completely fucking unhinged, and instead of apologizing for it, it doubles down on the madness. That self-awareness is ultimately what keeps the film from completely driving off a cliff. Critics have been absolutely fucking divided on Locked, and it's not hard to see why. It's the kind of film that either grabs you by the throat or makes you wish you could smash the cinema exit button. The technical achievements have critics jerking off with praise. Those custom lenses, the innovative set design, the claustrophobic camera work. It's all impressive as shit for a film with this budget and schedule. The performances are getting their due too. Skarsgård's sweaty, desperate portrayal of a man slowly losing his goddamn mind inside a luxury SUV has been called everything from viscerally committed to Oscar-worthy physical acting. And Hopkins, even though he's mainly just a voice for most of the runtime, delivers those sinister monologues with the effortless menace that only a theatrical legend could pull off. But holy fuck, the script problems are impossible to ignore. Critics have ripped into the pacing issues, especially that saggy middle section where nothing happens except Eddie screaming at a dashboard for what feels like a fucking eternity. The philosophical musings about justice and punishment feel like they were written by a college freshman who just discovered Nietzsche and won't shut up about it at parties. With a 65% on Rotten Tomatoes and lukewarm scores across the board, Locked lands squarely in could have been great territory. The consensus seems to be that it's a film with genuine technical brilliance and some truly tense moments, but one that doesn't know when to ease off the throttle on its most batshit elements. It's like watching someone build a perfectly engineered race car and then driving it straight into a wall because they couldn't figure out how to brake. For every critic who calls it a masterclass in tension from a confined space, there's another calling it a ridiculous premise stretched beyond its breaking point. And you know what? They're both fucking right. Alright, you sick fucks, here's the verdict. Locked gets a 7.5 out of 10. It's a stylish, occasionally brilliant mess that feels like David Fincher and Saw had a baby in the backseat of a luxury car. When this film works, it fucking works. The claustrophobic nightmare Yarovesky creates inside that hellish SUV is technical filmmaking at its finest. Those custom lenses weren't just a production gimmick. They create a genuine sense that you're trapped right there with Eddie in his mobile prison. And holy shit, Bill Skarsgård deserves hazard pay for what he put himself through. The man drinks his own piss, bleeds, sweats, and screams his way through this performance with the kind of raw desperation that makes you both pity him and want to slap him. Hopkins, that magnificent bastard, reminds us why he's considered acting royalty. Even when he's just a disembodied voice tormenting some poor fuck who picked the wrong car to rob, he's utterly mesmerizing. The way he delivers lines about punishment and morality would make Hannibal Lecter proud, even if the script often saddles him with philosophical bullshit that wouldn't pass muster in a freshman ethics class. But for all its stylistic flair and committed performances, Locked ultimately runs out of gas when it comes to its story. The premise is killer, but the execution stalls out halfway through, spinning its wheels with repetitive torture scenes and heavy-handed moralizing. By the time we get to the inevitable face-off, the tension that was so carefully built has dissipated like smoke from Eddie's last desperate joint. That said, if you're looking for a tense, fucked up ride with some genuinely clever moments, you could do a lot worse than Locked. Just adjust your expectations, grab some popcorn, and enjoy watching a man suffer in a car for 2 hours. This is Dr. Ghoulula signing off. Remember, the next time you see an unlocked luxury SUV in a parking lot, just keep walking. Until next time, sweet screams, and as always, till next time, kiddies!